essential to ensure that the voice of the people remain the heart of ASEAN. AFPC provides us to strengthen collaboration, share best practices, and also build collective power for more just democratic and people-centered region. See you, thank you, terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hi, xin chào from Vietnam. My name is Thảo Võ. I'm a program manager at Catalyst for Change Vietnam, a non-for-profit organization working in education, community development, and women empowerment. Our beneficiaries are mainly children and disadvantaged women. I'm very delighted to be here at the Asian for the People conference. I think that this is such a great opportunity because it's bringing together civil society groups from across Southeast Asia, and it's important that people are truly at the heart of Asia. Only when we connect and collaborate cross borders, we can really attract challenges we all share. And personally, it's also a great chance for us to learn more about our achievement and ongoing efforts for the development of our region, and especially to build stronger connections with all of you. Thank you very much, and see ya!
Good day, everyone. My name is Marian Kevin, and I'm a project leader from ASEAN Youth Forum. And I am delighted to support the ASEAN for the People Conference, AFPC. This is a meaningful and important initiative that will connect civil society groups from across Southeast Asia. I believe this conference is important because in this difficult situation, in recent situation in ASEAN, in these difficult times, I believe that cross-border collaboration is key to solving our shared challenges, and ASEAN needs their young people to be involved in the decision making, for they are the future of the ASEAN. Thank you, and see you in Jakarta.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please have another round of applause once again for ASEAN for the People's Conference 2025. Yes, and now we'd like to welcome you once again in the Golden Ballroom, and we are ready to begin to the first session, or the second session in this ballroom, session A1, titled It Never Gets Old, How to Preserve Interfaith and Ethnic Tolerance as the Basis of a Peaceful and Stable ASEAN Community. And to begin this session, without further ado, we'd like to invite onto the stage to lead the discussion our moderator, Audric Rizky, Program Director of 1000 Abrahamic Circles Project, to take the stage.
Thank you very much. Selamat siang. Selamat siang, selamat tengah hari, magandang hapon. Sawadee Tombay. I'm trying to greet everyone with the languages of our panelists for today. My name is Audric, and I'll be your moderator for today. Welcome to our discussion on how to preserve interfaith and ethnic tolerance as the basis of a peaceful and stable ASEAN community. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome Ambassador Yuli Mumpuni to give a remark. She is the advisor at Muhammadiyah Central Board, and I'm inviting you on stage, Ambassador Yuli.
So, may I I'm
Yes,
Yuli
please.
Mumpuni Widarso. Well, thank you, Audrey, to invite me. Is it now my time also to comment these sessions? It is very important topic. It never gets old. Yeah, it continuing how to preserve interfaith and inter-ethnic tolerance as the basis of a peaceful and stable ASEAN community. So now the challenge before us to discuss this topic is if ASEAN aims to be seen as a community of peace, stable, tolerance, and we are like Indonesia, larger than Indonesia, we are Bhinneka Tunggal Ika in Indonesia, composed of various ethnics, various backgrounds of religions, economic, educations, but we are one. We are ASEAN family, sharing and caring community of ASEAN. I'm here representing Muhammadiyah, Central Board of Muhammadiyah. As I understand that the participants representing not only from Indonesia, maybe I need about 1 minute to introduce. Muhammadiyah is one of the biggest civil organization, civil society organization based on Islam. So our members that holds member cards, like Pak Dino Patijala also holding member cards of Muhammadiyah is about 80 millions. And our strength is also because we promote based on tolerance, humanity, and modernity. So that's why up to now, as our pillars is on humanity, so we have also to transmit our values of Muhammadiyah as religions that associates with modernity. We have more than 166 higher education institutions, colleges and universities, and more than 5,000 madrasah or boarding schools, and for hospitals, more than 200 hospitals and more than 300 clinics, all are serving for our people. And we also even now, with our new mission, internationalization of Muhammadiyah, that also welcomed by our sister organization around the world, Muhammadiyah has already our branches in 30 countries. In ASEAN, we have 2 special branches of Muhammadiyah in Malaysia and in Thailand. And Muhammadiyah was established by Kiai Haji Ahmad Dahlan. And his grandson is Professor Wanai Dahlan, now is professor in Chulalongkorn University, president of Halal Center in Thailand. So this spirit of Muhammadiyah, internationalization of Muhammadiyah values working well, as we also have a ancestor like Professor Wanai Dahlan in Thailand, and he also encouraged us to enlarge our activities in southern part of Thailand where Muslim community exists. Besides that, we have also schools in Cairo and in Melbourne. This is also to spreading the universal value of Islam, which is, we call it rahmatan lil alamin, that Islam is spreading mercy to the world, to the universe. And Muhammadiyah principle is wasatiyah, Wasatiyah is balance. So our principle in dealing with any issue, we try to be always approached in balanced manner, including in interfaith dialogue. I just informed Audrey that Muhammadiyah firstly involved in the interfaith dialogue when we face terrorism issue. So we encourage our ministry and our government to organize interfaith dialogue around the world. And now the issue is not only Gaza, but also Islamophobia. So Muhammadiyah also in front runner to inform, to reduce this misunderstanding about Islamophobia. Now we need on how to promote understanding and tolerance among us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambassador Yuli. You may now go back to your seat, please. Yes. Thank you for the inspiring and warm speech. Now I would like to welcome our distinguished speakers. Anyone can guess? We have Professor Franz Magnus Suseno. He is, usually we call him by the name Romo Magnus. He is a professor at Driyarkara School of Philosophy in Jakarta. Romo Magnus, I welcome you on stage. From Thailand, we have Dr. Supatmet Yunyasit. She is the Thailand's representative at the ASEAN Women for Peace Registry, flying all the way from Bangkok. And from the Philippines, Ariza Nocum. She is the co-founder and president for Cris for Peace, an organization working for peace through education. Last but not least, from Malaysia, Aizat Shamsuddin. I'm inviting you on stage. Aizat is the director of Initiate Malaysia. And Initiate Malaysia is opening a booth outside, so make sure to pay a visit to learn more about what they do. All right. Please give our panelists a round of applause one more time. Before I start, I would like to get a quick hand raise from each and every one of you here who is working on interfaith peace, social cohesion, ethnic, anything that relates to our topic for today. Can you raise your hand? Some of you there? Okay, and the rest? You guys must be working on other things. Could be what? Arts, science? But that's not the point, because the responsibility to protect and to nurture diversity and peaceful ASEAN is on us. We still have the same shared responsibility, and so thank you for being here. In 2024, ASEAN as a whole, ASEAN member states have about 685 million population. And in light of Timor-Leste becoming ASEAN member state, their population is to be counted as well. And in 2024, Timor-Leste had about 1.4 million people in the country. So that means Southeast Asia as a whole is now home to 700 million people with thousands of ethnic groups and diverse faith traditions. Speaking of diversity, I'd like to start with Romo Magnus, if I may. ASEAN's diversity is always celebrated as one of its greatest strengths. So we have a strong commitment to protect this diversity in the region. But in some way, it is also fragile, because without a shared identity, those beautiful aspects of ours could lead to fault lines, which we have experienced in some ASEAN member states. There are minority tensions, unequal treatments, and discriminations among religious and ethnic groups. So my question is, Romo, how do we work together to build that shared identity as Southeast Asian with a lot of differences? The floor is yours, Romo.
Thank you very much. I came in '61 to Indonesia from Germany. At that time, we Christians had no real relations, for instance, with Muhammadiyah of Ibu Yuli or NU. Although in Indonesia, maybe the most important question for unity is the questions how to put the majority religion, Islam, 87% of all Indonesians are Muslim, with the others. And I think Indonesia has many problems now, but relation between the religions are the success stories. There have been two very important times of developments. The first was, of course, in 1945, when the Indonesian freedom was proclaimed and the state formed. For me, it is still very impressive that in the Constitution of 1944, the majority religions did not demand a special position, and that the first principle of our Pancasila, believe Ketuhanan Yang Maha Esa, cannot be really translated, believe in God, has been formulated in a form that is acceptable for all religious identities. Then there came later developments, which I think were very important too. In the time of Suharto, relations between the religions were not fostered. But during the 70s, there were Catholics, also Protestants, for instance, Protestants that said, we cannot have a future if we have between the religions win-lose relationship. What is good for us is bad for you. What is good for you is bad for us. We have to come to trusting relationships. There were some very important Muslim personalities like my friend Nurholis Majid, then the absolutely impressive figure of our, I think, fourth president, Abdurrahman Wahid, who was completely open, which helped to bring mainstream Islam and Christianity, the two biggest groups, into good relationships. This showed very clearly in at the end of last century, when we had some bloody conflicts between religions, we were able to overcome it. Now we have so good relations. I think this is one of the positive points, and it makes us open for ASEAN, which is religiously, has many religions there. I am still grateful that in Indonesia there's a kind of coalition between what I would call nationalists, between non-Muslims and mainstream Muslims, Muhammadiyah and NU and others, that are in favor of Indonesia now on the basis of Pancasila. Maybe only this from me.
Thank you, Romo Magnes. It's good that we have philosophy and a little bit of history for the foundation of this conversation. But let's stick to the question, and I'm going to you, Ariza, if I may. Following the points made by Romo Magnes, on the other hand, since we're doing it for ASEAN, so I need to add the value of ASEAN in this. despite the challenges and the gaps, ASEAN has adopted strong commitments such as the ASEAN Human Rights Declarations, which uphold the freedom of belief, and also recently in 2023, ASEAN just conducted the ASEAN IIDC, which is the Intercultural and Interreligious Dialogue Conference. It was huge. But on the ground itself, there's the experience of the people, it's not aligned with those strong commitments. And how do we explain this persistent divide between ASEAN's strong commitments and the actual experiences of its people on the ground? And we're not dismissing the value of these efforts. It's very much needed and very much appreciated. But how can we fully integrate that on the ground to the people and for the people?
Thank you so much, Audric. I think that's a very complex question, but I think I will draw from my own personal experience. So I come from an interfaith family. My mom is Muslim. She's from an ethnic tribe in the Philippines called the Tausug. She's a member of one of 6 million Filipino Muslims who form the minority of Muslims in the Philippines. While my father is a Catholic, he actually almost became a priest. That's how religious he was. And he is part of the 80+ million Filipinos who form the majority of religious Catholics in the Philippines. So my parents, despite the conflicts that have been happening, the tensions across the different faiths that has been happening in the Philippines, not just for decades, but for centuries since the colonization of the Spanish, despite those things, they chose to choose love. And they chose to build a family together based on that love. And I am the product of that family, and that's the reason why I'm here in front of you today. But that, to me, illustrates the importance of leadership. Because Audric was asking, why the disconnect? The disconnect between policy and all these nice ASEAN structures we have and what's happening on the ground. And for me, the disconnect is very big in the leadership. They say one thing, but they do another. They say they want peace, but they foster political divides. They say they want people to come together, social cohesion, but then they wage war out of their own political or economic interests. So from the example of my parents, drawing from their leadership, we have to make our leaders accountable to actually get them to do what they say. So that's one aspect for me. Another thing is shared purpose. So here in ASEAN, we are very different. Different languages, different cultures, different attires, different religions, different ethnicities. And I think something that we lack is a shared purpose. And I think listening to the speakers earlier, I'm starting to see what that shared purpose is. We face so many problems right now. Anybody who's in their teens or 20s is more likely scared of the future rather than excited for it. They're most likely suffering mental illnesses. They're most likely very scared at what's going to happen with the climate crisis, looking at the conflict and wars that are happening and increasingly happening over the past years. So it's not a very good time. It's not a very exciting time these next few years or decades. But for me, that therein is the shared purpose. We find ourselves facing a future that is so dark, and that's the solution. Coming together and bringing our individual diversities or societal diversities, leveraging them and making use of them to hopefully be able to build collective solutions together. And lastly, I think one thing I'd put forward, which is something we do in our organization, Chris for Peace in the Philippines, we use education as a pathway to peace. And I think in many ways we've forgotten that. In the Philippines, as in many parts of the world, education is in crisis. It's not just because we lost so many months during the pandemic because of this digital divide and the learning loss. And it's not just that sometimes schools, libraries, museums are getting defunded, like as you've been seeing probably in the US and other parts of the world. So education is starting to fail our young. And without education, without facilities and platforms that promote critical thinking, empathy,
openness, letting us appreciate different stories and perspectives that we don't necessarily agree with. Without all those things, I think we lack a very, very important ingredient for true peace and true harmony in ASEAN. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariza. That's a really good point. Thank you. And shared purpose, I do agree. I need Aizat's two cents on this. So when it comes to shared purpose, Aizat, I don't know if you can see me. So shared purpose means there are two sides here. If we're talking about ASEAN, it's the regional body and it's us as the community, Southeast Asian community. However, in some commentary that I read, and one of them is published by the Rajaratnam School of International Studies, it argues that the structural limitations hollow out the promises of people-oriented ASEAN in many terms, in peace initiatives here and there, rendering civil society input largely symbolic, and some of them felt sidelined and also periphery in terms of implementing their initiatives, whether it's peace initiatives or in order to achieve interfaith harmony, anything similar to that. What are the gaps here, Aizat, and how can we fill in those gaps? Because if we were trying to achieve our title for today, we need both sides to work together, the government and its people. How can we fill this gap?
Thank you so much, Audrey. So I think to respond to that, collaboration is very important, right? I think I just want to include one more perspective into, why there is a case of intolerance, right? Especially, how do we see digital platforms play a role in fueling hate and real-life violence? So I think, when we look at these trends where, let's take one example, anti-Rohingya, case study that's happening, where we detected and we tried to map, these trends online and also offline, and we saw these anti-Rohingya narratives, anti-refugees or anti-immigrants are not necessarily unique to Southeast Asia, but anti-immigrants narratives have always been there, and especially in the West. But in Southeast Asia, we see this anti-Rohingya narrative. It's more prevalent, and it's cross-border. How people who put up content, influencers and all that. So they put up content and then they say that they should get out of the country, they're taking resources or whatever. So these narratives are traveling across borders. So it's not just happening within Malaysia, but also these narratives are also being disseminated to Indonesia, to southern Thailand and to Singapore, who speak Bahasa, for example, because we share the same language. So, this problem of hate and intolerance, between groups, whether it's ethnic groups or religious groups, becoming more and more complex, and you require all people to work together. You cannot have only government, Ministry of Communications who only or the police, using the law to make sure that peace or order is there. It's not effective. So we need everyone to be on board. So when I say digital platforms, so it means that more and more increasingly the role of tech companies, corporate sector, to be part of peace building. Who would have thought in many years that corporate sector should be accountable, should be hand in hand with civil society and government and faith leaders to promote peace, right? So it's very important to have this collaborative strategy, between stakeholders. And I think here we have a lot of people with different mindsets and different agenda networks. So we need to exchange cards and we need to be able to articulate what we want to do. And this is the time we share resources and to make sure that the collaboration happens.
Thank you. I learned a bit about Initiate Malaysia, and I noticed that you have one of your flagships. It's called the Peace Lab. Can you please share with us what kind of effort and how does the Peace Lab works?
Yes. Of course. So we have a booth outside, and yes, it's a Peace Lab where we train young emerging leaders and thinkers to be more active in the peace building arena. So basically, to put that into practical language, what I've mentioned just now, we invited people from the government and also tech companies actually to share their perspective and resources. So for example, we invited TikTok last year to share their insights on how youth leaders and also content creators can leverage algorithm, how they can effectively put up and engage with online users online. So I think that's something that we rarely talk about. We often talk about the negative side of social media, but perhaps it's a double-edged sword. Technology, games, and everything, we can use it for positive and hopefully not for negative.
All right, thank you. And if you guys are interested to learn more about the Peace Lab and Initiate Malaysia, please pay a visit to their booth outside. Moving on to Dr. Supatmet, you're the only one representing ASEAN here, so we're hoping that you can share what you do at the Women for Peace Registry. And I believe that you yourself, you're a lecturer at the Mahidol University working on human rights and peace studies. What are the best practices that you have experienced or that you have did before in achieving interfaith harmony and ethnic harmony? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Audrey. I don't think I'm here to represent ASEAN, so no. But we work closely with ASEAN, and also I'm a part of this group called the ASEAN Women for Peace Registry, which is established by the ASEAN Institute for Peace and Reconciliation. This is also another attempt by ASEAN to try to reach out to middle-level actors and also the grassroots actor. They use us as a female representative to, to connect their policies or their inspirations to the grassroots community. So that is how I've been doing the work for them for the past year. There's representatives from 10 different ASEAN countries join hand. Like myself, I work in the deep south of Thailand. You know, right? We have conflict between the state, Buddhist state, and the Malay Muslim insurgent group that's been ongoing for 20 over years and cost more than 7,000 lives so far. So I work as a dialogue facilitator. In that kind of context, maybe very much we need the ethnic and also inter-ethnic and also inter-religious tolerance. But when you talk about best practices, if you observe around the world, right, there's a lot of organizations, a lot of entities that trying to promote and also preserve. Actually preserve it maybe not the right word. Maybe you need to also look at what we have and also to promote to make it better. Right, so you will see a lot of best practices around the world. But when I look at that, the one that perform very well, they will have at least 3 features. They will have the interacting and speaking features, where they allow majority, minority to come and interact and share their needs, fears, and concern, and also whether there's rising tension going on. And they will have promoting features, which is tackle the issues of policies and also implementations of policy. Like Arisa mentioned, sometimes, rhetoric commitment is quite strong, but when it comes to implementation, what we see on the ground is a totally different story, right? So that promoting features. And the last one is about empowering features. You need to empower, but empower who? Usually we choose to empower the victim communities or the one that been marginalized, but it can also you empower the majority people to understand more about the minorities. So that in that sense, the real tolerance the genuine tolerance can really form, right? For ASEAN, maybe a little bit, they are trying, to promote inter-religious and also inter-ethnic tolerance via various way they can. They have a lot of agency under their wings, right? So, for example, they use AISHA. Now AISHA, the ASEAN Intergovernmental Commissions on Human Rights, also advanced for interfaith and also inter-ethnic harmonies. They use peace for development and also the right to development and also right to peace, which is appear in the ASEAN Human Rights Declaration since 2013, right? And then they're trying to promote more and more like inter-religious dialogues and also roundtable discussion, bring in the expert. And for example, and also ASEAN have this ASEAN Institute for Peace and Reconciliation, which does a lot of training, capacity building. They tackle the empowering features already. So I see that they're advancing quite well in terms of trying to promote understandings, social harmonies, and also ethnic tolerance, right? For Thailand, of course, there's many countries around Southeast Asia that you can pick one of the best example. Singapore as well, and also Indonesia. But in my case, you talk about Thailand. Rhetoric commitment is quite strong. The government incorporate these, securities for the people into their national security plan. 20 years strategic planning. But when it comes to on the ground, maybe I don't see much that their initiative really come into fruition, right? But we rely on, like Isaac mentioned, we need to collaborate with so many actors in order to make it make the achievement that we want, right? So for example, my Institute of Human Rights and Peace Studies, we start with interacting feature. We develop dialogue platform for the Buddhists and also the Muslim to come and interact and also share needs, fears, and concern. And also we do at the same time the empowering feature, empowering element. We try to empower them on the knowledge about the other group and also among themselves. Sometimes you also need intra-faith dialogue, intra-ethnic dialogue as well, not only inter-ethnic dialogue, right? And then the last thing we do is trying to come up with that kind of the achievement from that platform. We come up with the policy recommendation and then we give it to the government. So that is how we are trying to achieve all these three elements. I think I can consider to be one of the best practices, right? Thank you. I will stop now. My time is up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Supatmet. Well, that's very detailed. Now we know how it works. All right, just before I ask one more question to Ariza, I'd like to invite our discussants, our pre-appointed discussants, to line up. There's a standing mic, and my colleague will help you. So please line up. So after my last questions, I can go to you and invite you to deliver the questions. All right. I think we almost reached the end of our discussion. But I think, from what I understand, there is a rising polarization from each and every one of you. The pre-conclusion would be a rising polarization fueled by digital echo chambers, social media, and I would like to ask Ariza. I think Isaac have mentioned it, but I need your take for this. If government, civil society, and tech platforms were to act before this divide spiral, what would be a preventive strategy look like? Maybe you can give an example from your organization or from your own experience in the Philippines.
Thank you, Audric. And maybe to clarify, the polarization is already spiraling.
It is.
And
It is,
I
yeah.
think in many ways, if you've been seeing what's happening in the US, Europe, and other parts of the world we used to praise as these great democracies, democracy is dying. So that's a sign, I think, that this polarization is up to a fever pitch. So on my end, I think very quickly, I see both societal and personal solutions for it. So it's a big picture thing, but it's also something we need to think and do for ourselves. So the societal picture for me is, number one, follow the money. If we have these policies and these nice sounding bodies and these publications, but money is actually not going to CSOs, not going to youth organizations, not going to these faith organizations that are doing good work on the ground, then not a lot of things is gonna happen. So I advocate for those of you who are in this room who have money,
whether you're from the government, you're from multilateral organizations, you're from embassies, or you're from universities, or anybody with money, I hope, and even the private sector, of course, I hope that you find a way to funnel it down to these CSOs. Just to give a quick example, in the Philippines, we launched a project called Champions for Peace, where we're training young leaders from communities affected by conflict, very grassroots backgrounds, to become peace builders. But we don't stop with the training program. After the training program, we get them to apply for seed grants. And it's a very, very critical part. It's the most critical part of what we do, because I think without those seed grants, we're just doing lip service. And for me, the personal thing in trying to address polarization and building interfaith and interethnic tolerance is for us to burst our bubbles. I am happy to be in these rooms like this with you amazing people, but more often than not, these are echo chambers. These are bubbles. We're talking to people who already agree with what we're saying, and that needs to stop. We need to bring more discomfort into our lives. Talk to the people who actually believe in polarization. Talk to the people who disagree with us. Talk to the people who might not want to listen to us in the first place. But it has to happen. And I hope that's something we can take forward, not just in our professional lives, but in our personal lives too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariza. That reminds me of my work at the 1,000 Abrahamic Circles project. I'm also opening a booth, and you can check it out. 1,000 Abrahamic Circles project is part of FPCI. It's our flagship interfaith initiative. We bring together 3 religious leaders to live together for 3 weeks in each other's home. So, like you said, to seek the discomfort, because how can you live with someone, a stranger, basically? But you get to see them live, do daily chores, do something outside of the conference room. And those experiences and discomfort turn into love and kindness and tolerance. So make sure to check the booth outside to learn more about the project. It's very aligned with today's topic. So I think the discussants are ready. I'd like to welcome first, he's actually the alumni of 1,000 Abrahamic Circles project, Ustad Oji Fahruroji. Please, you can ask the questions, and to whom are you asking it to?
Okay, thank you, speakers. My name is Oji Fahruroji from Pesantren Cekat RC. It is Islamic boarding school. So I'm as a teacher and observer of young people. You know, I see that religions education has big influence for peace. As Speaker Ariza said that education as a pathway for peace. So my question is, how significant is the role of religious education's quality in shaping whether the next generations, our students, will be inclusive or exclusive in their attitude? Thank you.
Thank you, Ustad Oji. It's for Ariza, right? Yeah, Ariza, you can answer, please.
I think it's quite a heavy question, but thank you for that. Just a quick question. Have you heard of the term Nepo babies or Nepo kids? So basically, we now live in a society where we put a lot of premium on wealth and privilege, and especially material possessions. You see it every day on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, that virtually it's like it's a whirlpool of all these images of Louis Vuitton, Balenciaga, all these other things, jewelry, mansions, sports cars. And I think religious education has a role in bringing groundedness to that, to make people realize that the end of life is not to bring all of these possessions into our grave, but actually to live rich and wealthy lives, spiritually rich, intellectually rich, emotionally rich. And I think because probably in many parts of the world, religion is receding, like a lot of young people even are starting to drift away from religious circles, religious practices, and even places of worship. That's how you can see the rise of this materialism. So I think even if it's not a discussion about religion per se, but the value of spirituality, of philosophy, and of things that have no price tag is something that's really important to continue teaching. And I hope that whether or not you worship a god or gods is something that we still go back to our own places of worship, whether it's in a prayer room, in our personal space, because it's something that I think is really critical, not just to us as a humanity, but to our own personal humanity also. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to our next discussant from Sri Kandi Lintas Iman, Misni Parjiati.
My name is Miss Nei, and I want to ask a question for Dr. Subhamen. How do you think, how can they play a second role in shaping ASEAN's youth and promoting diversity, inclusion, and social cohesion? Yes, from your perspective. Thank you.
How ASEAN is doing on youth, right? About how I think that they have this ASEAN youth interfaith camp that ongoing, and then it's quite a kind of platform for youth around the region to come together and learn about diversities and also learn about one another religion. So I think they have done quite well in terms of that, right? Bringing people together. But I want to see more. You know, we have the WPS policy. We have the WPS the resolution. We also have youth resolution as well. So I want to see more ASEAN bring in the platform for youth and connect it with the bigger body. I think youth have a lot to say, right? What they want to see in the future. They said they are not the future, they are here right now. So they want to voice their concern also, right? So I think that, but there's many room for them to do more, you know, to empower youth and then make sure the youth is a part of the decision-making mechanism, right? We are trying to do projects a while ago that connect youth peace builder with the older generations of peace builder, because youth have different way to build peace or to advance for this tolerance and also harmony, right? So we want to youth to learn also that the older generation have this way to promote peace, and youth also have the other style of tackling this issue. So through this way, when we learn, right, we can come up with some innovation and can promote better, you know, better harmonies and also tolerance in our region. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Supatmat. Moving on to our third, I think we still have a couple more minutes, so after our third discussant, I'd like to welcome some questions from the public as well. But for now, I would like to welcome Ms. Dastia Narwis from Baha'i International Community.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's really inspiring to hear the sharing from distinguished panelists. And before I share my question, please allow me to share my reflection. We all see that the world now faces its most pressing challenges that are driven by the dividing concept of us versus them. And I think Romo Magnis, you mentioned about win-lose relationship. And this unfortunately plunges humanity into one crisis after another. And in this light, we believe that religious and faith communities should play a significant role to gain an ever more profound understanding of their religious teachings and to apply them to address this urgent need. So I would like to share one story from Malaysia regarding how to preserve interfaith and ethnic tolerance, not only as but to draw on the role of the local leader. So in September 2024, a group of Tok Batin, traditional chiefs from Orang Asli villages who stay across peninsular Malaysia, Central Highlands, and river valleys meet together in the capital city of Kuala Lumpur for a candid and heartfelt consultations about the daunting issues facing their communities. There is land encroachment, environmental degradation, inadequate schooling, and social ills such as the substance abuse and early marriage. But despite these challenges, a spirit of shared purpose and collective responsibility permeated the gathering. And it is a spirit that stems from commitment to humanity, grounded in justice, equality, and oneness. And in this consultation, as indigenous community, they realize that they have a unique role to play as custodian of the past, but also as the designer of the future. So in light of this discussion today, I would like to pose a question to Romo Magnis. As a faith community, religious community, how can faith be more and more relevant in today's society to promote unity and cooperation amongst different groups, including indigenous community, social classes, ages, gender, and race? Thank you so much.
Mbak Destia, can you please repeat your question because Romo Magnis couldn't hear it?
So, how can faith communities be more and more relevant in promoting unity and cooperation among different groups in the society and social classes, age, gender, and race? Thank you.
Yes. So thank you, Mbak Destia. So the question is how the religious communities, can you please repeat it again? Just a simple question, please, just one line.
How religious communities stay relevant in today's society?
So how religious, yeah.
Religious communities, of course, extremely relevant in society because many acts in daily life are connected with religion, and not only in Indonesia, conflict between religions is a serious problem. I just wanted to say that Indonesia succeeded, in my view, marvelously in getting good relations between the religions. If not, we have almost no communication. In Indonesia, the decisive point is communication. You have to speak to each other. I tell Catholic priests they should use 10% of their working time to build up communications with Muslims in their parish. It is so easy. You can silaturahmi, then you get to know each other. As I told, when I came, we had almost no relations with NU and Muhammadiyah, we Catholic. Now we have close relations. If we talk, if we have problems, we can bring it and talk about it together. And this has to be developed the whole time. A dangerous situation that, for instance, trigger intolerant actions is if the minority community, for instance, the Christian community, doesn't speak the language of the local population because they are newcomers, they are migrants, and they have no communication. This is a situation where very often something still happens. Thus, the important thing is to build this communication, and then we can have a country like Indonesia where relations between religions strongly support the national unity in the country with the greatest religious, cultural diversity.
Thank you, Romo Magnis. Please give a round of applause for our distinguished speakers. I still have one more slot for the public if you want to ask questions. I can see one right there. Can you please come up front? Yeah. Please state your name, your question, and to whom you're asking it to.
My name is Fadila Azahra. You can call me by Zahra. As a student, I'd like to ask, what role do you think young people like us can play in promoting interfaith and ethnic tolerance within the Asian community?
And you're asking it to?
Whoever can answer.
Aizat, you can take it for now.
All right, very broad questions. Actually, you can play many roles, but I think, relating it back to what I have mentioned just now, because every one of us, is activists ourselves, and we all have our own social media account, right? So something that we can do is, for example, where a lot of this hateful content happening on social media. So what we can do is, to do, a little bit of research to detect, and find trends, and then, find out, what's the reason, who's the perpetrator, and try to, report, this, hateful accounts, for example. But I think also in real life, right? So I think one of the things that I've jotted down here is, how youth should get organized and should mobilize. So you have your own idea and you have your own community that you want to work with, an issue that is close to your heart, then I think it's very important for you to start something and get organized. Build a community with your like-minded people who can support you throughout the years. Because I started with the youth-led organizations, and then before 10 years ago, it will be a tough few years to start an organization or initiative, for example, especially when it comes to funding and resources. So I think, especially in the current climate, resources is very scarce. So I think that resilience and support system within the organization to organize, that is very important. That makes me resilient and stay in this field. And of course, mental health and burnout is a real issue. So I think those things that we should talk about also, when we do this serious work.
Thank you, Aizat. Would you like to add?
Okay, this question, my student, my facilitation work is in the Deep South, right? But I live in Bangkok and I deliver my classes in Bangkok. And I have Thai students that never been to the Deep South before. They never know the Malay. They never know anybody that come from across that ethnic boundaries, right? So they ask me, if we engage in this kind of issue, how can we help the conflict in the Deep South? I think from the conflict transformation framework, more people, it doesn't mean more headache, it means more solution. So in your own way, if you think what kind of ways that you can contribute to the problem, that consider good enough already. So we want everybody on board as many as possible. Like the African used to say, right? If you want to walk fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So we want youth also in our activities, and also you have a lot of ability to do so many things. Beyond your recognition, you can do so many things. So I just try to encourage you to be a part of any project that you can, right? To contribute, in your own little way. You have a lot to do also for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Supatmat. All right, I think we have reached the end of our discussion for today. And one message stands out. Diversity is not enough on its own. We need to protect, to nurture, and to make sure that it will not turn into fault lines. And we need to make sure we can have a lasting foundation of peace, not just in our countries, but also in our region, Southeast Asia. Anyone agree? Yeah? So can I get a peaceful ASEAN? We can say it together, peaceful ASEAN. One more time. You had your lunch, right? Peaceful ASEAN. All right, thank you so much. On behalf of the ASEAN for the People's Conference, I would like to thank our distinguished panelists and for everyone who attended today. Please do not leave the room as we invite our speakers to take a group photo.
Yes, thank you very much, Audric, for moderating. Once again, give a round of applause. And we invite to all the panelists, and of course, Audric as the moderator, to please take a position still on stage, for we will now present a token of appreciation for sharing your insights and, of course, having a wonderful discussion this afternoon. Please give a round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen. And to join in for our photo session, we kindly invite Ambassador Najib to please come up on stage to join in for the photo session, along with our moderator and our panelists. Please do stay on stage once again. And to the documentation team, please get your cameras ready. Welcome, Ambassador. Please do take a position on stage. Yes, please smile towards the camera. In 3, 2, 1. Once again, 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you very much. Once again, give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Romo Franz Magnus Suseno. And of course, thank you, Dr. Supatmet Yunyasit, Ariza Nokum, and of course, Aizat Shamsuddin for a wonderful discussion led by Audric. Once again, give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And that marks the end of session A1, It Never Gets Old, How to Preserve Interfaith and Ethnic Tolerance as the Basis of a Peaceful and Stable ASEAN Community. And our next session here in the Golden Ballroom is titled Good Governance, How Civil Societies Can Help Ensure Clean and Competent Government and Fight Corruption. And we'll be having a break, and the next session, session A2, will begin at 3 p.m. So we hope you have a wonderful break and see you again here at 3 p.m. Thank you.